Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the Spotlight stage of Event and Tech Show 2020. My name is Jack and I'm pleased to be your host of this stage, streaming live to you here from Singapore. We are excited to have you with us these 2 days for an exciting lineup of insights, showcases and inspirations. 2020 has been full of surprises for all of us across various industries, especially those in the event industry. With plans cancelled and events postponed, it suddenly seemed impossible for us to connect humanly. However, this is when humans' very survival instincts kicked in and innovations take place. This is how the Avenevv team decides to embark on this journey of uniting the event industry together to exchange ideas and expertise in breaking barriers for engagement through the digital sphere. It is with great pleasure we have the Spotlight stage to share industry insights from various fronts that is impacting the events industry. Thank you for tuning in the Spotlight stage. And we have a great deal to learn from our guest speakers here today. Allow me to introduce our first speaker of the stage, April Tolentino. April is an expert in hosting global digital events for clients across industries. She coaches MCs, clients, and business owners on the do's and don'ts of online events. She helps creating highly interactive and engaging events resulting in high conversion rates for her partners. Today, April will be sharing on the topic of how to create highly engaging online event. Among the many challenges that event planners are facing as we shift to the virtual world, audience engagement stood out as a common setback. How could we create truly engaging virtual events and keep that connection with our audience on the screens? April will share on her experiences and tips for planning and executing highly engaging online events, as well as her successful case studies from utilizing these practices. Let's hear from April.
Thank you so much, Avenevv, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to share my knowledge with everyone, all of you today. So before I start, I would like to know which countries you are watching from. Please let me know in the chat. Okay, I can see a lot of people watching from Singapore. Some people are watching from Malaysia. I see Indonesia. We have China. We have India and Philippines. Keep them coming, guys. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope you will find this talk useful. My aim of my talk today is to share some tips on how to create highly engaging events. As a person who produces and hosts events, I want to help out everyone who wants to create high quality and engaging virtual events. So a bit of a background about me and my company. We offer webinar hosting and we help companies share their expertise online without having to worry about technical aspects of producing a webinar. So the clients can focus on creating their content, which is their talk. As we know, presenting online is more challenging than speaking to a live audience because you can't measure the energy in the room you are presenting compared to, live. And you don't even know whether your online participants are paying attention to you. So I hope these tips will be useful for you and you can use them in your virtual event. So to get your audience excited and paying attention from the start, we run icebreakers before each session. An icebreaker helps us know more about our audience, like what I did in the start, asking you where you are from while the rest of the participants join in. This normally takes 3 to 5 minutes, and an icebreaker also gives a webinar a personal touch. So for example, you can use Menti to create word clouds in real time, icebreaker.video tool where people can network, Miro for brainstorming where you have notepads and people can collaborate, or Kahoot where your webinars can transform into a game show similar to the ones that you see on TV. So we will paste the links in the tools I've mentioned in the chat, don't worry, okay? If you will be using an audience interaction platform like the ones that I just mentioned, for example, to play an interactive game, You will have to introduce the tool at the start of the webinar and give your attendees instructions on how they can join and participate using that tool. So don't assume that participants will get it right away. You have to spend a few seconds running through the basics. So sadly, what we have seen with people who host webinars, they actually don't bother addressing the question on how to use the tools up front. So we have to understand that today's world is flooded by webinars and there are different platforms being used. So it's not good to assume that the attendees are experts in webinar platforms that you are using, because this might be new to them. So another tip I will be giving you is to look at your camera when speaking in an online session. This will help create that connection to the participants, and they will be able to feel that connection with you when you look at straight to the camera. So don't make it seem like you're speaking to your keyboard, as your audience can get turned off no matter how good your content is. So get that extra engagement by looking at your audience through your video camera. So these are just some of the things that people hosting webinars overlook. So I have seen some webinars wherein the speakers have on one screen on the left, and their webcam is on the other screen. So the speaker always appears or looks on the other side as if they're looking at somewhere else. And I am sure that you have attended webinars like this before, and you may have found it annoying. So yes, this is one tip that I can give you. And another tip is to minimize the slides in your webinar. What we have gotten so far from our surveys is that people space out when they see slides throughout an online event, especially if it's overloaded with text and information. So you lose connection with your audience when your virtual event consists mainly of slides. And it can easily become just a reading session. So you'll be amazed of how your audience is engaged even post-webinar when you have minimal slides or no slides at all. So this is a benefit for speakers as well, as they do not have to spend time creating slides. And they have a very high engagement rate, I would say. So overall, it's a win-win. Okay. So another tip is to put yourself on mute when someone else is speaking in your webinar. So this is very basic, but not everyone does it, unfortunately. It's very easy to disrupt a webinar when someone knocks on your door, your dog barks, or when someone drops something and you are not muted. So this can be especially disturbing and has the potential of spoiling the mood of everyone in the webinar. So ideally, if you're running a seminar with, say, more than 10, 20 people, you should appoint a moderator that will mute participants who may have unintentionally left their microphones unmuted. So some softwares offer this mute all functionalities, but other does not. So either way, make sure you think about how to handle this beforehand while you're planning the webinar. So in a webinar, verbal communication is not the only way to share your content. So while slides may be overwhelming, you can make a smart use of the various chat functionalities embedded in the platform that you are using. So for instance, writing down some key concepts or keywords that you want people to remember, just as a sort of live notes with the key takeaways. So if you are doing that, it can again, be useful to appoint a person to create a content for the chat as you speak. So this will also result in higher engagement of your audience. And aside from having these support figures in charge, looking after technical issues or keeping the chat animated, it may be beneficial to have a moderator for your entire session. This person will be in charge of guiding the webinar flow, switching between presenters, including introducing them, so questions from the audience, final remarks, etc. So if you have a setup of this type, your presenters can definitely focus on their content, on their actual presentation, resulting in a more relaxed and hassle-free environment. and in a more enjoyable session in general. So with that note, I would like to also encourage you to make sure that you select a host or moderator who is professional and passionate about what they do. So don't force anyone to be your moderator if you're not sure about their level of confidence and overall awareness around the topics being discussed. So in general, you can do a quick background check on how people that will speak during your webinar typically performs his or her own online sessions. So if we're talking about the actual speaker or presenter, it's not enough that the person knows how to speak well. It is important how the person will represent your brand. So does the person have the energy when he or she presents? So performing an online session requires more energy than physical presentations, as the audience feeds in the tone of voice and on-screen energy of your host. So your presenter or moderator can make or break your online session, so you have to choose wisely. Let me conclude with a few tips around the environment that you will create. I cannot stress enough that when you facilitate your webinars, you have to have a crisp audio, good video quality, and great lighting. So as you can see, I have here a very reliable microphone, which is a very good investment, I would say, for hosting webinars. And I'm also equipped with good camera and lighting to ensure that our presentations will be professional looking. But if you know that you will be hosting webinars a lot, it's worth investing in this equipment, as your customer experience depends on it. We had a client who was good speaker, but the camera was really blurry and the audio sounded like he's calling from a cave. So we are very quick to pick this up from the first meeting, and we provide solutions to your clients and get equipment for them as well for their webinar to make them look like top-notch. So these are obviously just some of the details that contribute towards creating a top quality online event. We can go on for hours with the tips, and we will probably never be done with them. So apart from helping our clients with all of the ones I mentioned, including thorough rehearsal sessions, we at Dolce Vita Events help with the overall concept. We help you choose and provide what works and what we're not. We make sure that your seminar will be an absolute success in terms of flow, concept, engagement, and technicalities. We can definitely streamline your presentation and show your expertise through our proven system.
Thank you, April, for the insightful sharing. I'm sure all of us have a thing or two as takeaway from April's sharing. Please allow me to share my screen now. This year, all of our ATS programs are equipped with a Pigeonhole Live link for you, our audiences, to post any burning questions, comments, or shoutouts to our presenters. This interactive Q&A feature is proudly brought to you by our silver sponsor, Pigeonhole Live. If you are watching this from the spotlight stage on your laptop, you will notice a Q&A button on the right of this watch panel. Simply click the Q&A button and you will be redirected to the Pigeonhole Live link, where you can post your questions to April regarding their sharing on how to create highly engaging online event. Without further ado, let me hand over the time to April for the Q&A session.
Hi, everyone. Okay. Let me have a look at the questions really quickly here. Okay, there is a question. How do you convert a skeptical audience into an engaged audience, which buys in the message that you are trying to share? So this is really a good question. It happens in webinars that the audience is not really in the mood to participate. Actually, you have to come in with this expectation already when planning a webinar. So during the conceptualization phase, you should think of ideas of what you will do when your audience is not participating. And then when it happens, you just execute your plan. So let me see. Let me have a look. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. Hi, Zuli. I can see you. Okay, we have another question here. It says, what do you recommend a person who wants to host a webinar for the first time? So you better make sure that you are a real expert on the topic, right? Because you will be talking about, you know, the audience is very unforgiving, I would say, based on our experience. You really do have to do a lot of research about the topic. Imagine you will be speaking a solid 60 minutes or 90 minutes in a particular webinar. So that's the normal time for webinars. And in addition to that, there will be Q&A like this. So you have to be able to answer the questions on the spot. So make sure that you really have a thorough research on that particular subject. Okay, keep them coming, guys. Let me see if we have any other questions here. Give me a moment. Okay. All right, I can see one last question. So how do you design an engaging webinar? All right, so first you have to think about the concept and the goal of your webinar. This is what I normally ask my clients. So is your goal only for brand awareness, or are you using this webinar for a product launch or a service launch? So ask yourself these questions before you start conceptualizing, right? Are you creating this webinar because you want to make a sale on the spot, or have some conversions at the end of the session? So ask yourself these questions, and then you work backwards and design the webinar with activities that will really help you reach your goal. And in addition, the discussion flow has to follow a specific path that ends where you want it to end. So you really have to you know, reach the goal that you set for yourself. So yeah, those are just some of the tips. Let me see if we have any other questions here. Okay, all right. I don't see any other questions, Jack.
All right. Thank you very much, April. If anyone has any other burning questions, or if your question is yet to be answered during the Q&A session just now, please do not worry. Our speaker can still reply to your question by text over the next 2 days. Yeah. So we hope that you are having a great time exploring the Event and Tech Show live site while listening into the content from the Spotlight stage. To keep a snapshot of these exciting moments of exploration, simply use the virtual photo booth in our interactive and demo zone to take a quick snap with the experience you're trying out, the new people you met online in social gaming, a virtual chat room, or anywhere in the ETS platform, or even with me. This is brought to you by our silver sponsor, Ubersnare. You may open the virtual photo booth on your phone while opening the main stage on your laptop and take a selfie with me, your MC for ETS 2020 Spotlight stage, anytime and anywhere, while not missing out on any action on screen. In the era of Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, capturing moments like this is a must. On top of that, the ETS team has put together 2 challenges for all of us. The first one is the photo challenge using our virtual photo booth gallery in our interactive and demo zone. At the end of every event day, we will be on the lookout for the most creative photo on our online gallery, capturing the best moments you have at ETS 2020. The winner will stand a chance to a cheap t-shirt delivered right to your doorstep. Hesitate no more. It is time to snap and win. Stay tuned and we will share more about the second challenge. Before we move on to the next session at 11:15, Let us check out the following videos. Next up, we have an experienced entrepreneur as our guest speaker, Stephanus Titus Widjaja. Stephanus is the founder and director of BISA. He serves as a representative for several companies and active in some communities in Singapore and Indonesia. His passion for business networking with other diaspora community contributes to Indonesia's integration within world markets through Singapore as one of the leading business hubs in Asia. In Indonesia, he started his career as an educator and migrated to Singapore since 2008. He built his business consultancy, an event company, and during the new normal era, he made some transformations to change his offline event to online and be an entrepreneur in Singapore as an international hub and go to the next level. As a serial entrepreneur, he believes that every challenge creates an opportunity, which he welcomes every day with a big heart and a big smile. His specialties are Indonesian market and business matching in Singapore with a huge network and many clients. Today, he will be sharing on business event trends and new normal in Indonesia. Indonesia, a diverse archipelago, nation of more than 300 ethnic groups, has charted impressive economic growth since overcoming the Asian Financial Crisis, and today became the world's 10th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity and member of the G20. Indonesia's heterogeneous culture, coupled with its economic growth and thriving business environment, has led it to become a premier business events and destination. During the new normal, most online events in Indonesia were moved to online, which gave rise to many potential business events that now could enjoy a global reach. Let us listen for greater insights into the events and business trends in Indonesia, especially during this period. Welcome, Stephanus.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanus from BISA. Today I will share about business trends in Indonesia during new normal, and also I will share also later about the business opportunity regarding the Indonesia Startup Insight 2020. So, as you know, why Indonesia? Indonesia is diverse archipelago nation of more than 300 ethnic groups, has chartered impressive economic growth since overcoming the Asian Financial Crisis, and today became the world 10th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity, and also a member of G20. As you know, in this event actually quite interesting, because even though Indonesia is the nation country who a lot of diversity, the event business in Indonesia is a lot and huge opportunity. I will share more detail to the next slide. Okay, what is the event business in Indonesia before COVID-19? As you know, because our Indonesia culture is a lot, and also the growing and the thriving business environment, there's many occasions in Indonesia. Because Indonesian people is community-based. They want to meet up one person to one person, one community to one community, one region to one region. So a lot of opportunity, especially in the event business before the COVID-19. Next. And as you know, in the COVID-19 era like this, Corona kills everything, you name it, from the pilgrimage, from the event, from the MICE industry, technology, education, even the traveling industry, tourism industry. Most of the event even cancel or postpone. As you can see, even sport event, music event, festival, there's plenty opportunity in Indonesia because the COVID-19 situation, the Corona kills everything. And as you know, before the COVID-19, I'm as an entrepreneur. I have many occasions, a lot of events. Every year, I'm doing business from 2008 until now. Every year, I organize a lot of events, from the small event until the medium events until the big events. Even I attend many big events before the COVID-19. And before the COVID-19, usually the offline event is the, prima donna. A lot of people, even my company and all the business people, they want to meet up offline. But now in COVID-19 era, we must consider what is the consideration. As you know, in normal event, people always meeting in the small event, in the function room, even in the conference. But now, after the COVID-19, we changed to the virtual. The trend of the business event in Indonesia now coming to the virtual. As you can see, you can check in the www.meetup.com/BISAKITA is my portal. So I changed some of the offline event to online. So during the 4 months from January until this around August, so slowly Indonesian business, they changed the business from offline to online. For this opportunity today, actually I want to share more detail about the opportunity to you. One of the opportunity is Indonesia Startup Insight 2020. So I offer the opportunity to you, to all of your companies who are looking for Indonesian business event. You can consider this particular event. We are planning to have an Indonesia Startup Insight in 25th November 2020. And we are start with the registration from 1st September until 30 October. Oh, this one, the 30 October, not the 39. So it means you can also be a part to our event as a participant or as a organizer, even the sponsor, even the speaker, or even the visitor. So Indonesia Startup Insight aim is to boost the opportunity to bring the Indonesia startup to the next level. So you can be a part with us to boost our event. We starting actually, the idea of our event is from 2015, and you can see the startup need a platform to learn from industry expert and gain the right exposure to mentors, investors, and the right target audience. Our history already proven. We already starting offline business 2015, 16, 17, 18 until 2019 last year. But this year, we are planning to create online event. This opportunity to you as a business partner to join on board to our event. These are some of the e-poster we already established, and we did this very successful from 2015 until now. You can see. This is another. You can see also we invite some top startup leader from Indonesia, from several district and several region to come on board to share about the best practice regarding the startup industry. So these are some of the picture, the winner picture, and the group we did several years until last year. This is a package you can consider to join. You can choose as a sponsor, you can choose as a speaker, you can choose as a visitor, you can choose also as a potential investor, or you can choose as a business partner together with us. And we offer the special package sponsorship with the several ranges. The first range is the from bronze. The second is the silver, the third is gold, and the fourth is platinum. We open to discussion to you if you want to join as a business event offline, change to online during the COVID-19 situation. This some the idea for this year, special arrangement with the, some community. Even we will bring some Indonesian community in Singapore, in Indonesia, even diaspora. We also have a support from Indonesian Embassy in Singapore. And also, we also will create more bigger this year. And we seek problems and then we make it as Indonesia Startup Insight coming, and we will build a more abroad about this potential trend business during the COVID-19. So why not you can check to us about the why and what Indonesia Startup Insight is all about. Actually, this is a best event you can cater to our group, our network, our community, and our country to create more vibrant and more startup invitation, more bigger in online. So this milestone from end to end about the Indonesia startup ecosystem as a business opportunity during the COVID-19. Now the opportunity is coming, and we want to replace the new word problem with the word opportunity in all our thoughts. As you know, in a crisis era like this, we have two choices. We want to still in the offline event, or we want to create more opportunity, more bigger with the mindset and the global in online presence. Okay, there's a need for the platform for the startups to gain the right exposure to mentors, investor, and right target audience. COVID-19 situation, new era is coming. Come on board and join to our event. Together, we can more have a bigger success. So this one, our achievement from 2019 Indonesia Startup Event until now, and you can see growing number from the pitching session coming, from the application already coming. Even now for the 2020, we are thinking in the online, and we think how to create more impact to the society. So our aim in Indonesia Startup Insight 2020 is we want to increase our attendance to be 1,000 people, opening session, startup close pitching, and panel discussion more vibrant, because we no need to come to one place. We just sitting in the home, and we can create more vibrant online meeting. So this is the winner last year. The winner we bring to Hong Kong, and we bring the winner to the next event, the next global event, more vibrant, not only in the Southeast Asia, but also we can go to the another to reach out to the social environment, global situation. Thank you. Basically, the opportunity in the event, especially in the offline, change to online, and in the new era COVID-19 is coming. You can join with us, and you can contact us, and you can ask the question. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanus, for the insightful sharing. Indeed, within a short span of a few months, virtual events are proliferating across industries, but the experiences are quickly put together with makeshift online meetings as webinars. Check out our Avenevv concept, which is powering the current ETS 2020 site. Creating a worthy online experience is now within grabs. It is time for Q&A. For those of you who have burning questions to consult Stephanus, please do not hesitate. Simply click the Q&A button to the right of this stream screen, or scan this QR code with a phone to pop into the Pigeonhole Live for this session. Post your question, share your praise, or give the speaker a shout out. As you post your questions on Pigeonhole, allow me to hand the time back to Stephanus, who will be taking your questions right now. Stephanus, please.
Yep. If you have any question, you just ask. I'm free to, to answer your question. If any question, I will check.
I can see that we have 3 questions on our Pigeonhole side.
There's a question, while go virtual, I'm able to join virtual conference. In what ways do you think COVID helps startups to expand internationally? Actually, the important thing is the collaboration. As a business people, we must thinking not only ourselves, but also make a collaboration, especially like our generation, like my generation, 40 years old above, we need to engage to young people. Like, like this today event, we collaborate with the young, more people generation. Because without the technology, without the young people, we cannot do anything. You know, as a business people, usually they only thinking about the offline. But now it's a young generation, they create more vibrant in terms of the virtual. So I think the important thing is the collaboration, international thinking, and also you can do locally based on your experience. Number two, what do you foresee happening after COVID-19? Will participants still prefer online events? Of course, the important thing is still a combination between offline and online. The participant still prefer online because now, especially we are talking about the startup. Most of the startup usually young people. Young people now already in the digital era. Before the COVID-19, very seldom people go to the online. We prefer meeting offline, right? But now, within 2 or 3 months, the society coming together and they force us to be online presence. The question number 3, I will try to answer. How do you bridge the communication gap between conducting startup events virtually? Just now the situation is, the difficulty is how about the online startup events can be benefit and can be reached out to the young people, especially because in the online a lot of distraction, especially young people. Young people is a lot of distraction. I think one of the best area is the combination between the offline and online. Some part in the online we can do like, you know, connection with technology. I think technology coming to make more easier regarding the connection between offline and online to break down the communication gap. This is my thinking. Number 4 is, are there any success story on virtual startup event in Indonesia and the region? As you know, Indonesia now we have 5 unicorn. In the past 5 until 10 years in the past, people don't think about this 5 unicorn will be like today. 5 or 10 years before, it's just only small startup. Maybe they starting very small, but now you can see the valuation of the unicorn is huge. But before we think about the huge startup, we need to start from the ecosystem. We must create the ecosystem. Southeast Asia, especially in Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, in the Southeast Asia is the growing, developing country must coming together. Because startup cannot grow only in one country. We need to grow in certain countries. I think this one to answer all the question. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Stephanus, for your time and sharing. If anyone else has any burning question that is yet to be answered during the Q&A session just now, please do not worry. Our speaker can still reply to your questions by text for these 2 days. Within our interactive and demo zone, we would like to highlight the special sponsor, Monster Day Tours. If you have explored around the ETS platform, you would have noticed the check-in buttons in various halls, as well as the interactive zones. These are milestones you can collect as an ATS Explorer. Every premium ticket holder is automatically entitled to one chance to spin the wheel in the interactive zone. Collect all these milestones by checking in and get another 2 to spin the wheel chance. Attractive prizes including the sponsored virtual tour offered by Monster Day Tours and free 3 hours multi-purpose event space usage sponsored by Only You Space, discount code from Avenevv, and more prizes awaits you. Our next session will start at 11:45. Please tune in later. As we wait for the next session to start, please watch the following videos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to our spotlight stage, we would like to introduce our next guest speaker, Desmond Marshall. Desmond is a seasoned strategic business and innovation advisory and doctor expert. As the founder of the world's largest intelligence and analytics platform on sustainability innovation, Futures, Asia's top sustainability innovation accelerator program, Pitch Perfect, Rogue Ventures, and Rogue International. He is genuinely passionate in sustainability tech, artificial intelligence, machine learning, fintech, blockchain, and new retail. Desmond's sharing today would cover the topic of sustainability tech in tackling the new market norm, the events use case. Consumer habits and demands have changed, especially for the events industry and correlated business. In this session, Desmond will be sharing about how corporations and planners should adopt sustainability tech, especially during the COVID-19 era now, to tackle the new market norm, how it generates better revenue and branding, and how investors now have a different view of sustainability, being a very critical component for funding and not as a side afterthought. Let's hear it from Desmond.
Hello everyone. Hi everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day around here. My name is Desmond Marshall. I'm the MD of Hooge International, Hooge Ventures, and also SustainTheFuture.net. Welcome everyone. This is a pre-recorded session around here, but hopefully as per the request of the organizers. But of course, I hope to answer your Q&A after a little bit short while later on, after 10 minutes around here. So the topic today we want to talk about is basically sustainability tech in tackling the new market norm around here. So what's happening around here in terms of sustainability? So everyone's talking about sustainability. How is it changing the world as we see right now? How is it changing the mindsets of commercial companies? And also, most importantly as well, to the investors too at the same time. So these are two groups of people. And of course, the third part will be very highly related, will be how the consumers are thinking around here. So let's dwell into this and how it will also affect the events market and also the organizers, how that's going to affect, especially when we're talking about events tech and also how organizers are doing around these days, especially under COVID. You can't fly around, so what's going to happen? So, and a lot of things are already happening around here. So let me just share the slides to you as well. Okay, so just before we go in, fairly quickly, one of the things that I want to talk about is what exactly that we do. So in terms, like I said, our company is Hooge International, but under that we have something called Future. So it's a system, it's an analytics and intelligence system for sustainability innovations. It's very unique. It's so far there's not a lot in the world around here. So under the name SustainTheFuture.net, you can go there and take a look at the website itself. The system itself, the intelligence system itself, is called Future. So basically, we focus on two different groups of people. Like I said, the commercial users, business users, just any commercial companies. And also for the investors. So they can be a fund, they can be an individual investor or an institutional investor. So what it is, one of the biggest challenges that we see right now these days is when you're looking into, hey, maybe I need a solution that relates to sustainability. It can be an innovation solution, it can be a process, it can be anything, it can be a company, but it's related to sustainability in a way. And right now, if I'm asking you, what kind of solutions are there outside, you can't really find a particular area or place where you can actually go and find everything that you need. So say, for example, people these days are looking into alternative proteins like cell-based meat, plant-based meat. So if I'm saying, hey, okay, I want to invest or I want to use these meats in my events, who should I be talking to? What kind of solutions are there? What kind of meats, plant-based meats are there outside? So you have a lot. Maybe you've heard about a lot of things called like Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, or Omnipork, etc., etc. But there are actually tons of it outside. So if you're saying, hey, I want to find something better, not the most popular ones right now, so where can we find them? So it's going to be difficult. So one of the things that we did a few years back was to actually develop this database system, and it comprises of more than 30,000 companies already around the world, and we keep adding it as we go along. And of course, in terms of professionalism, in terms of due diligence, one of the things that we also help out is basically if we supply the companies may be saying, hey, I want these kind of solutions, so we provide them with alternative ideas. We provide them with the due diligence and intelligence in terms of getting them the real information about what these companies are doing so that they don't get blindsided. So these companies may be new, they may go bankrupt overnight, they may become a unicorn overnight as well. So we never know. So it's like an investigative reporting. So we get to have detectives to check up on these companies, whether they're real or not. So when the companies come in, they will be able to directly connect with the companies themselves, with the owners themselves, and conduct the deals, or to conduct more due diligence or more paperwork coming along here, the process moving along here. So and that's one of the most important things. And that's what we're seeing as well outside what's happening. So if you're interested, if you want to learn more, go to sustainthefuture.net, and we'll talk about it later on as well. One of the major things before we go into how sustainability tech is changing the overall market is we need to understand how consumers think first. So under COVID, everyone is affected. Like I said, 100% of the people are affected. So no one is spared. And one of the major things will be how these people or how consumers are changing in terms of their mindsets and in terms of the habits. We can't fly anymore. Well, you can, but it's going to be a hassle. So there are no more big outside conferences. There are a lot of things that you can't do in terms of if you're organizing an event, or even if you're doing retail, or if you're doing anything consumer, anything at all these days. People are changing their habits already. So I'm not going to go through each and one of this because some of them is pretty straightforward, and it's happening already. I'm saying that this is not the future, but this is already happening. So COVID has been happening for more than 10 months already. So we are actually just normalizing into the COVID area. But then again, there are a lot of companies who can't be normalized as well, and what's happening around there. One of the key consumer trends that I found amongst these six trends around here is I want to bring it out is number one, online personal relationships. Now, in the old days, especially when we're dealing with events organizing and everything, all the people will say, hey, let's meet up face-to-face because it's easier and it's also more intimate. It's also closer, so I can ask you more questions, and I can, if I'm going to an event, I can actually touch the products, or I get a better sense of what's happening around here. So in terms, especially in Asia, if you're coming from Asia, if your ethnicity is from Asia, you'll understand the importance of face-to-face and also the closeness of having a relationship already. And it goes for everyone as well outside. So if you're saying, hey, I want to have a big deal with some of the big bosses, maybe you go golfing with them. So that's just one of the ways of how people are doing. Or you have to go to dinner to discuss business over dinner. But then again, people can't come out right now, or they're social distancing very proactively themselves, or they're afraid to actually meet other people. So in a way, virtual relationships are actually replacing a lot of these old school relationships. So there are two types of people. So there's the old people, which is people like us, and also there's a younger generation, which is brought up by like TikTok, and also with the smartphones, Snapchat and Facebook and all those stuff around here. So the newer generation will be okay with, okay, let's have a virtual relationship. We don't have to meet face-to-face. Let's do everything online. Even if we have to meet face-to-face, let's do FaceTime. Let's do video conferencing and stuff like that. We don't really have to care about, or the younger generation is open to not actually seeing that person face-to-face. But the old school people is different. So there's a lot of CEOs, there's a lot of the big owners, investors. They will still cherish the online face-to-face relationship. But then again, because of COVID, you can't fly. There's no airlines moving around here. There's not enough flights around here. So you have to force themselves. They will have to force themselves to say, okay, this is the new norm. I will accept virtual relationships, and hey, we talk deals over the phone, over conference calls, even though I may not be able to look into your eyes face to face or actually touch the product. I may have a proxy to actually touch the product as well. So as an event organizer, or how event tech is going along here, or the event industry, you have to be very careful about these things moving along here, because it is, you can't have everything. Most of it right now is actually virtual conferences, virtual events around here. Apart from the only exception, China is already moving back into normalizing real face-to-face event exhibitions as well. But of course, it's not as like crowded as before. They have crowd control, social distancing processes in place, protocols in place as well. But then again, they're starting to normalize. So, but in terms of other places, they're still having problems with terms of, okay, should I be organizing events, which maybe in some places we have to limit to 20 people or 50 people or none at all. So these are things you have to be very aware of. Starting first, understand what the consumers are doing right now these days. And the rest of things, well, basically, I think everyone is experiencing themselves personally already. So there's no need to discuss a little bit more on this. Now, like I said, the two types of sustainability. So a lot of, when people talk about sustainability, they think about charity. They think about, okay, ecologically friendly, let's protect the planet, let's protect the trees, the sea, the energy, food, wind, etc., etc. But sustainability is actually a lot more than that. So why is it important? Let's go through two different types of audiences around here. So commercial businesses and also investors. Now, and you'll know why I'm saying focus on these two parts around here, because that's pretty much the bread and butter. So number one, commercial businesses, especially with COVID right now, everyone, pretty much like everyone is concerned about their personal health. So which means that when you buy some food or anything to eat, food manufacturers, etc., you'll be asking, hey, I'm going to this restaurant, I'm ordering takeaway from this restaurant. Is this restaurant safe? Are they infected by COVID people? By COVID, the viruses around here, will this company be responsible in terms of when they are handling food, or when they are handling my paperwork, or when they are handling my retail or anything that they're doing as well? So you will be asking all these questions anyway. If you're in the hotel industry, you'll be asking the same things as well. Is this room clean? How are they cleaning, etc., etc.? And it's big business as well, because back in the old days, people were thinking about these things as sustainability as, hey, how can we actually save money? So say, for example, before COVID, people were asking me about, okay, how can we do carbon offsetting for business travelers? So if you own a company, or if you travel business a lot, you'll understand how much money it costs to actually travel. So you got the per diem, you got the air flights, you got the hotels. You're losing a lot of time. You got the taxis as well. You got the food expenses, etc., etc. Basically, that's a lot of money. If you calculate, if someone travels like 20 times or 50 times per year, that's a lot of money for a company. So, and companies will not just have one person traveling. They may have a group of people, like 100, 200 people, or even less. That's a lot of money coming along as well. So basically, in a way, before COVID, people were asking about these things and how to save money, because there is financial returns in terms of financial saving in this. So that gives us good reason as well in terms of, and especially with technology these days, technology has gone to a point where it's cheaper. It's much more cheaper than before. So when you're thinking about new solutions, it's not as expensive as you may think. because actually it can be cheaper. And if you're playing your cards right, for example, some of my clients, they're big clients, when they're using new innovations, they may strike a bartering deal and actually use it for free, depending on how the innovation is, and how the innovative company or the startup companies or the new tech companies will want to have that good branding. So in a way, when these companies, commercial companies, are actually doing the responsible things, they get better investments as well, because especially COVID these days, when everyone is talking about sustainability, it is now a must-have, not a good-to-have item, but a must-have business strategy within the company itself. If you don't have it and you're saying, oh, okay, let's forget about being sustainable, let's not be responsible, let's use plastic, let's use dirty plastic, let's use a lot of different things that will actually cause more infections for COVID. And the consumers will be looking at this and say, okay, what the hell are you talking about this around here? When everyone is being concerned about health, you are just doing everything just to make a buck around here. So people will just leave, especially with the younger generation. They will just leave and will just go into, hey, check out the new companies. Are they doing things responsible? Are they trying to protect our well-being, so that it's not just my well-being, it's my well-being for the next generation, my kids, my grandsons as well. So in a way, it gathers better investments, because the consumers will be flocking into those companies around there, and they will be acquiring new audiences. And of course, in a way, they will be looking into gaining better branding as well, because as you can see in some of the companies, and gaining better branding is also goes hand in hand from getting pressure from the public as well. Because as you can see on the right-hand side, I captured this fairly recently, that McDonald's, Burger King, people have tested out that the packaging contains cancer-causing chemicals around here. So in a way, sure, if you say, okay, I don't care, I just care about the money, fine. Just go ahead and eat things that will cause cancer into your body system. That's fine with me, because that's your choice. But if you're a younger generation, if you are just starting off your life right now, and if you just have the new babies along the way, would you be feeding your baby with packaging like what you're seeing around here that will cause cancer? Would you want to risk it just for saving $1 or $2? So probably in many cases, people don't really mind paying a little bit more for that. And that's why, because of COVID, people's health awareness is gaining more and more on this side around here. So it makes a lot of sense in terms of how sustainability is impacting into commercial businesses. And we talk about that a lot of times as well. When people just ignore that, it's not going to happen anymore, because especially in Europe and United Nations, some of the listed companies will require you to have a sustainability division inside of it, just to protect the environment. And we're not talking about just using less paper. We're talking about doing something much more wider in that sense. But that's another topic for a later time. So when I talk about financial returns, it's also important for investors, and it goes hand in hand with the commercial companies as well, because commercial companies need investors, and they need to keep the investors happy, the board of directors happy, the chairman happy. And when the company is making money, then the investors are happy, everyone is happy. And I'm not talking about you have to sacrifice a lot of things, but you can actually be making money and also become sustainable as well. So like I said, pretty much many of the information is related to the commercial companies, which I've just mentioned, which is also true to the fact it acquires more customers, so which means that people are just moving into that area. The companies that do not focus on these things, or even if they don't talk about these things, they will lose out, they will die away anyway. And one of the interesting findings that we have is when we look into family offices, private investors, institutional investors, 2 years ago, or even like last year, when we're talking about how much money are they investing into sustainability-related companies or projects, we see that it was just 5% of the entire portfolio. So say, for example, the investor has $100, he or she is just only investing in $5 into sustainable related kind of companies, because they don't really see the financial returns. But They just don't know it. But because of what's happening last year, Paris Agreement and a lot of climate change, and especially what's happening with COVID, we are seeing a sharp increase of investors moving their portfolio, increasing their portfolio. So from a 5% to a 20%, which means that this is actually gaining a lot of not just exposure, but buzz, but also they actually see the actual returns as well. So there's a lot of information going along here. And on the right-hand side, you can see people are investing, I use the example normally, alternative proteins. So like cell-based meat, plant-based meat, fake pork, fake beef, seafood, etc., etc. So Impossible Foods, I'm sure everyone has heard of it. Li Ka-shing, Horizon Ventures, a lot of the big celebrities have invested in it. They just raised another round, 200 mil US. So if you still think that sustainability, I don't care whether you like the meat or not. Frankly speaking, I think the meat needs improvement. But then again, when everyone is looking into, okay, we've got swine flu, we got all the funky thing going around with all the meats around here, all the dirty meats with COVID covered up and sent in to other countries as well. We got to be very careful in terms of this. And more people are actually migrating into the cell-based meat to make themselves healthy, and also to avoid getting infected because of import meats coming along here. So when Li Ka-shing invested in Beyond Meat like a few years ago, people were actually laughing at him and say, who would want to actually buy or eat fake meat, especially from Europe, especially from US as well, because these are the people who are actually selling the meat themselves. But then and behold, Beyond Meat is now a $15 billion US valuation company. It's listed already. So the last laugh is the joke's on you, actually. So timing is not too much around here. Let's go through the last slide here. One of the things that I just wanted you to know and to understand that sustainability is always in part of what we're doing right now. So there's even if you say, hey, I'm doing event organizing because we're related, this session is related to event organizers. These are things that we need to be thinking about is, okay, how is the trend moving along here? So there's a lot of things moving along. So people are saying, hey, we have disinfectant tunnels around here where people have to go through a tunnel. You get sprayed with with alcohol, etc., etc. Or you get temperature controlling waypoints in the events, and there's a lot of things moving along here. It's just a matter of, are you guys doing it? Are you thinking about how you're actually changing it for good? Because COVID is not going away. Even though when we have the vaccine, it's going to be like hepatitis B, that it's going to be all along. So what are you going to do when it's the economy is releasing it back, releasing lockdown, so people are trying to get back, okay, let's not go for a 100 people event. Let's go to a 50 people event, 20 people event. What's going to be different? A lot of things are different already because number one, we changed it from virtual to from real seminars to virtual seminars. Now we're doing a little bit different. So these are some of the things that I went into our system, our future system, and we got some of the trends in terms of what's going to happen. Not everyone is going to follow all these things, but a good litmus test will be looking at what China is doing, because they're the ones who's actually moving quickly on this around here. So normal things like temperature control, social distancing, that's easy. That's nothing technologically advanced. You use duct tape and you can actually do a lot of things around here. But there are a little bit of new things that you can actually look into. For example, digital pre-exhibitions. So some of the auction houses are already doing those already. So you can't go to the exhibits, the exhibition sites. Well, let's go to the virtual exhibition sites or websites to actually look at that before the actual event itself. So people can actually do it 24/7, a little bit earlier, and if they're interested, they can actually communicate online with the relevant parties as well. Video streaming, it's nothing new already. We're seeing a lot of like KOLs, influencers, everyone's using TikTok, going online to actually check out what's happening in terms of the market is, and trying to get sales to do that. Another thing will be the rest will be pretty much straightforward. One of the things it's interesting will be a full online holistic, the third point, the full online holistic one-stop shop commercial process. What does that mean? That means that you have to assume that people don't go to the exhibition sites, or when they go to exhibition sites, they just walk around and they don't want to touch a lot of things. So they're doing everything virtually with their smartphones. So if I can stand in an exhibition site or an offsite, and actually I go through the entire process of, hey, let's do a virtual reality kind of a move into the exhibition area. Hey, I'm looking at my right-hand side. I'm actually seeing something interesting. I can talk directly, instant messaging or instant communication, video conferencing with that owner over there. And that owner can actually showcase me a augmented reality, which is projection mapping, and say, hey, this is the product around here. Let me show it to you. You can actually see augmented reality and see what the measurements are, etc., etc. Even though you can't touch it at this point around here, but sooner or later, maybe you can do so later on. There is technology already, but it was a mess back then. But then again, maybe these things are going back, and the customer is saying, hey, this is interested. Let's do the quick paper processing immediately. So all they need to do is just press a few buttons on the phone, and the quotation can be sent out, the invoice can be sent out, getting banks to do the loans, getting due diligence, getting the legal lawyers into place as well. Everything can be done immediately on the phone itself. So that's what we call a one-stop shop process. And also supply chain, you can actually track the supply chain using QR codes and stuff like that, all within the same thing. So these normally will be supplied. These kind of processes will normally be supplied by other supply chain companies or apps or bigger companies that will actually do so. But why can it not be event organizers doing that? Because event organizers are doing that to a different degree. They have been doing matchmaking, they have been doing things, they have been doing bank loans at the same time as well. So if you can add a little bit more for the whole process, it can actually facilitate people to do everything virtually or online. Even though they might be physically there, we don't really care, but it's easier for them to actually say, oh, I don't have time to, or my feet is hurting, I don't have time to travel to the other side of the conference room. I just press a few buttons and it's done. And so these are some of the new things around here. Second screen, that's what we talk about, the smartphones. Geofencing, indoor tracking, that's what we talk about, like indoor GPS. But of course, GPS doesn't work indoors. So when you go to a certain area, the RFID will suddenly pop up and tell things in your phone and give you the ads and give you coupons, etc., and etc. Social media sentiment, that's also very important as well, because social media, we used to think social media is we sit it in at our own homes and we actually just press a few buttons for Instagram and that's it. But no, social media right now is the actual KOLs doing live streaming, is actually sitting inside the event exhibition areas, and they're actually selling stuff to virtual customers over online or offline as well. So these are some of the newer things, moving along, the newer trends, how you actually do this. And of course, there are new innovations outside, but that's got to be a different topic because timing, we don't have a lot of timing today. So I'll just stop at here and let's see if there's more people in terms of the Q&A. It's just a taste in terms of what it is, in terms of why sustainability is important to you, and why people, or even for event organizers like you should be thinking about how these things actually work hand in hand with your own company. So that's it on my side for this session around here. Let's go on to the Q&A, and I will be switching over to the real me.
Thank you, Desmond. Indeed, in this ever-changing world, resources may often be utilized without fully consideration of other aspects. It is indeed very wise insight shared by Desmond on how we should adopt this sustainability-centric thinking. Wow, I can see some eager questions streaming in. And yes, that is how we keep an online event engaging. For those who just tune in, you may click in the Q&A button on the right side of the screen to access the Pigeonhole Live link and post your question, remark, or even feedback to our speaker. If your phone is in your hand, simply scan this QR code and you will be directed to the Pigeonhole Live link as well. Let me pass the time back to Desmond, where he can answer your questions. Desmond, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Right, the stage is yours.
Okay, I see one question, right? Someone asking, I'm wondering if going virtual is more sustainable than physical meetings when it comes to international conferences. The answer, of course, is yes. In terms of the planet itself, of course, it's more sustainable because, number one, you don't have people to actually fly over for the attendees. It's going to be easier in terms of traveling, in terms of they can do it at the comfort of their offices or their homes. But of course, if you're talking about the success rate of this will be there will be people who's going to be dropping off, who will be saying, hey, I'm coming, but at the last minute they're going to pull out. They may be saying, I want to be more interactive. Do we have enough tools in order to create that offline sensation and experience online as well at the same time? So technology needs to move up a little bit. So you're seeing a lot of things, new things coming along, like augmented reality. There's a lot of things in terms of where you can actually do remotely with your smartphones and everything, but it still takes time. So yes, in terms of sustainability, of course, remote virtual conferences will be a good thing, and it's going to be staying here for long anyway. So it's not leaving any of it soon. It's just a matter of how it improves to actually make it much more useful as a business tool. I guess that's all the questions. Right. Okay, giving it back to you, Jack.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm seeing another question. There's this question quite interesting. I think it says, to what extent can virtual events replace physical events and still remain sustainable to do so?
Virtual events are sustainable at the very least. It's a given. You don't have to set up things. You don't have to fly. So in terms of sustainability, like I said, yes. The thing is, will it replace or will it just take over physical events? I don't think so. It's not going to be like this at all because we still, people still will go to conferences or Comic-Con or different kind of shows around here. They want to meet the people, shake their hands, or actually touch the products. So until you can actually say, hey, I can actually feel and touch the products at my home, then it's a different matter. Of course, there are technologies out there for a few years already. People have done so. They might have things at home where you can install, and the product itself can actually relay it, and then it will give out the shape at your own home, or give you the smell of that particular thing at your own home as well. But it's more or less like a hype, not exactly something that's materialized or commercialized already. So it's still a long way in terms of will it replace? No, I think it will go hand in hand together actually. So there will be a bigger portion of it where physical events will also look into, hey, let's place more resources into virtual events at the same time as well. Oh, can't hear you.
I'm muted again. I'm not sure if that answers the next question we have. Do you see COVID as a good opportunity for my company to become more sustainable?
Yes, definitely. If you haven't thought about your company being sustainable before COVID, then now is really your time to actually really think about it, because pretty much every company, all of the companies right now these days, they have nothing else except for putting sustainability as a core strategy in their own business objective, because everyone's looking at this. So everything is tied to COVID. Whether you're a hotel, people will be asking, hey, is this room clean? How are you cleaning? The employees will be saying, hey, I need to clean this hotel. There's a lot of foot traffic around here. Am I safe working in this environment around here? You do F&B, of course, it's the same thing where people talk about, hey, is my meat infected by COVID? Will I catch COVID because there are other people dining inside the restaurant as well? Even with normal offices right now these days, people will be saying, hey, should I be working from home or should I come to the office? If I come to the office, how can the employer ensure that this office is clean? Because if you're old enough, 13 years ago, SARS was transmitted exactly like that. So it was in a hotel, it was in the air system, and pretty much a lot of people were affected because of that. And still, again, COVID is also airborne as well. So I'm asked every time, if you go into the office, if you just go into the office, inside your office, how are you protecting your employees? They're coming into the office and then they're meeting up with the people, with the clients, and then you never know. So in a way, if you're not thinking about in this area in terms of sustainability, then you got a real big problem, because sooner or later your staff will be asking you, hey, are you actually protecting me? If not, then if I got infected, will you get a lawsuit? Will you lose a lot of employees? And if you lose employees, you lose your customers at the same time. So yes, you should be thinking about that.
All right, we have time for one last question. This question is from me, actually. Just now in the video, you shared about the top sustainability innovation trends for events, right? But how would you compare those innovation trends with virtual events?
Like I mentioned, physical event in future, the word events will encompass both virtual and also the real practical ones, online and offline as well at the same time. So there's no discrepancy and say, hey, this is a pure online thing. Of course, you can still go pure online. You can still conduct pure offline. But in a better world later on, where we have the vaccine and people feel more safer coming up, whenever there's going to be like a real event where you have to physically go there, there should be a larger, much more bigger portion than what we have right now in terms of people putting resources into the virtual component of it. So taking care of people who wants to come but could not come. So whether they are because they can't fly, they're too busy, or they just want a different experience, because you can do the same thing. You can try to experience an offline experience at home, or if you physically at the venue itself, you want to try out the virtual component of the experience at the same time as well. So we're talking about like, hey, I can still go to the event physically, but I want to try out in terms of, hey, augmented reality. I'm on the other end of the hall. I don't want to walk so far over. Can I talk to that person directly through an online chat or a video call? And then I just put my orders down immediately. So in a way, I think that's going to be the future.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Desmond, for your time and insights. If your question is yet to be answered during the Q&A session just now, please do not worry. Our speakers can still reply your questions by text for these 2 days. Thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
Several exciting happenings are ongoing on the interactive and demo zone. This includes back-to-back live team building trials of virtual team building, sponsored by Catalyst Global, augmented reality live demonstrations and experiences, brought to you by Hello Holo, as well as the fun games to relax in the recreational zone. For our audiences who are excited for these experiences, simply upgrade your premium ticket at an affordable rate of $30 and start exploring. Once you're in the interactive zone, feel free to move your cursor around the interface and explore the options available for you to try out. In case you missed the session at 11 a.m. Singapore time, we will have a live demonstration of the virtual team building by Catalyst Global at 3 p.m. Singapore time. Meanwhile, we now have augmented reality, mixed reality demonstration from Halo Hulu happening in the interactive and demo zone. You will be able to view the schedule of the demonstrations and plan which you would like to join first. Let us go for a short break and be right back here at 3 p.m. Singapore time sharp for the next session on an exciting topic of blockchain technology. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back to the spotlight stage of Event and Tech Show 2020. My name is Jack and I'm pleased to be your host on this stage, streaming live to you here from Singapore. Thank you for tuning back into the spotlight stage where new ideas and brilliant insights are shared. Allow me to introduce the next speaker, Ali Madhavji. Ali is the managing partner at Blockchain Founders Fund, which invests in and ventures builds top-tier startups. He is a limited partner on Loyal Venture Capital. Ali consults organizations on emerging technologies, such as InState and the UN on solutions to help alleviate poverty. He is a senior blockchain fellow at InState and was recognized as a Blockchain 100 global leader by Lattice 80. He is an internationally acclaimed author, publishing 3 books and a monthly columnist for the leading blockchain magazine. With his vast experiences and expertise, it is our pleasure to have him sharing on how blockchain is driving ROI in various industries, the event's use case. In this session, Ali will discuss trials, POCs, and full developments of blockchain across different industries, with a deep dive into several use cases within the events industries. Ali would also be sharing examples of benefits achieved, cost reductions due to implementing the technology, as well as how startups and businesses can apply these trends in their organizations. Ali, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Widjaja, and I am thrilled to be here at the Event and Tech Show. I am the managing partner at Blockchain Founders Fund and a limited partner at Loyal VC. As you might know, we also consult the United Nations, as well as organizations such as INSEAD, which is one of the leading business schools in the world. And I'm very excited to be sharing with you about how blockchain is transforming and impacting various industries. And we're going to also have a special deep dive on the events industry. We're going to cover some other industries first, just so you can understand really the impact that's happening across different areas, different sectors, such as insurance, entertainment, academics, supply chain management, banking and finance. But we're also going to be covering the event space with a little bit of a deep dive so you can understand how emerging tech, such as blockchain, is having a big impact. And as you can see, we do publish content in a lot of the leading magazines and journals all around the world. You can definitely check out to learn more on some of these in the future. And so we're going to start off with the blockchain technology uses. And this was a survey to 1,053 senior executive respondents. And as you can see, supply chain, Internet of Things, and digital identity all rank in that 50% category. But you also see some other ones, such as digital records, digital payments, and digital currency, all being in the 40s as well as 30s. You also see things like voting, which is a great use case for blockchain, not ranking too high with senior executives, as corporations do not run democracies and voting is not as essential. we're going to touch on some of these things. We'll start off with supply chain and some examples related to that. And so with JD.com, they are actually tracking 60,000 product SKUs right now. They are China's biggest retailer with over 300 million customers. And as you can see here, over 700 brands and 6 million after-sales queries is what's happening here with JD's blockchain application. There's 5 key areas: data ledger, consensus, protocols, cryptographic algorithms, data storage, and APIs. And they can do 10,000 transactions per second, which is, quite impressive. It's probably not where it needs to be yet, given, the demand out of China when you look at things like Singles Day, which is the largest shopping holiday in the world, but it is starting to improve. And there's anti-counterfeiting as part of this to help ensure that products are always genuine, which is always a challenge with a lot of the e-commerce players, and they've been under scrutiny for this, as you may have seen in the news. And there's also an asset-backed security standardization solution, which is quite interesting, to allow banks to offload their lending portfolio to investors. And they're working with CITIC Securities and China Credit Rating Agency at present. There's also an interesting one for the times right now, which is with pandemic tech. Now, everyone's, of course, talking still about, COVID-19, and there's been some interesting application of blockchain to secure electronic health records of patients. And the idea is to keep track of patients and suspected new cases in real time. You're seeing this actually happen more out of Asia right now. But for example, there was a WeChat mini program, Access Pass, where you could use QR codes to enable residents to enter gated communities. And this information was actually collected and encrypted and stored in blockchain-based cloud servers. Now, it is a little bit unclear given the information that's been shared, but basically they were saying that original data can't be retrieved by the company, and it will eliminate all data publicly after the pandemic is over. Now, that doesn't really fully follow the principles of blockchain, and so there's some question marks there on really, how they're sort of approaching this. But I think it's interesting to note that this is something that's happening out there during these times. And continuing on with COVID-19, there's also use cases in the claims space. And so insurance firms in China are using blockchain to manage and process large volumes of COVID-19 related claims. Ant Financial is actually paying out these COVID claims on its Xianghubao claim sharing platform. And the idea is to reduce in-person contact, paperwork, and document deliveries. And so you see some very clear sort of use cases there. Now, if we move over to the banking and finance sector, the HSBC FX Everywhere platform is one that you should definitely be aware of. And this is to actually settle FX transactions for HSBC. And they've done 11.6 million trades over the last couple of years, amounting to over 1.2 trillion US dollars worth of trades. And this is very, very substantial. They've actually come out and said that they've had a 25% savings over their traditional process. And they're using it for payments orchestration, balance sheet optimization, singularity, transparency, and immutability. You're also seeing a number of digital wallets making big strides. Rapids actually is one of the leading digital wallets in Southeast Asia. Very big traction with a number of public companies leveraging their service, or also recently partnered with a large soccer team in the United Kingdom as well. Banks is one of the leading neobanks in Europe, and ARF is working on making settlements, B2B settlements, as easy as using a few lines of code. And so it's very exciting to see this transformation in the banking and finance sector. Now, if you look at the security space, Fatburger, which you may have heard of, has raised $40 million in securities on blockchain, and that was actually rated by Morningstar. And so what they were using, essentially, the benefits of this for them was shorter forecast performance periods, faster access to data due to increased transparency, due to using a security token, and higher visibility. And so this is a real case that shows some of the traction that's already happening with securities as well. Now, if we switch away from fully from finance, but, still an agri-fintech, example here. The agricultural sector accounts for over 50% of GDP in developing regions, yet agricultural lending is less than 2% of loan portfolios. So there's a huge discrepancy. And we're talking about 500 million smallholder farming households. That's 2.5 billion people rely on agricultural production for a living. And so Agrio is a leading company using and creating credit profiles for traditionally underserved farming families through sophisticated risk intelligence and predictive yield algorithms. And they actually reduce the risk of lending portfolios by using satellite data, geospatial data, and mapping, weather monitoring, soil moisture content to actually reduce the risk of that lending portfolio for financial institutions or banks and enable them to lend at lower risk, essentially. So this is actually going to have and already having a big impact. Now, Alibaba climbs the chain. So Alibaba has filed 470 blockchain patents in 2019. They recently introduced a system to track music copycats. So this is quite interesting. Of course, this has been a problem across the music industry, and their system performs originality analysis and produces similarity ratio to other music. There's no similar platforms that exist like this right now. So this is making big strides in the music industry. Some other examples in the music and media entertainment space. Vita is actually solving a $4.5 billion problem for the music industry. And what they're doing is they're essentially leveraging and looking at streaming services that self-report play counts and essentially eliminating that discrepancy. And right now that's about a 15% error, leading to missing royalties for artists and labels. So this actually has a very, very interesting and very big impact on the industry. Content distribution's actually manual, and so it's taking up to 12 months and up to 40% of revenues to actually pay out these royalties. All Rights is in the media entertainment space with TV shows and film, and they're one of the only digital places that major players like Netflix or Sony can actually go to buy content online. So they're making some very big strides through COVID, given the changes in the industry. In the gaming sector, this has actually been one of the fastest growing sectors in general across the pandemic times, especially in blockchain. This is an industry that's projected to be worth $2.3 billion by next year. Millennial gamers are 11 times more likely to buy cryptocurrency than non-gamers. So this is an industry that's also driving parts of the cryptocurrency industry. And Splinterlands is the #1 decentralized application globally with over 16 million games played and NFT values surpassing $5 million. And so this has actually been very, very hot, especially through these times. Now in the education sector, there's been a lot of really, really great examples, but the big thing is actually reducing and eliminating fake degrees and transcripts. You may have heard of the Yahoo CEO, Scott Thompson, who had a fake degree. You may have also heard of MIT's Dean of Admissions, which had a fake degree as well. And so, you're seeing big strides now by MIT, by INSEAD, one of the leading business schools in the world, Open Source University, to work on solutions or implement solutions to solve this. And actually, you can see it right here. This is actually INSEAD. This is live. INSEAD does have their degrees and transcripts on blockchain. And so you can see over here, you can actually download this blockchain receipt on any sort of degree or transcript. And this is actually a very big deal to eliminate fake degrees and transcripts all around the world. The social impact space, now this is something that, I personally, care deeply about, and it has an impact on billions of people. And so we're actually working with the United Nations as well on a number of initiatives and goals. But one of the goals of the United Nations is to lower the cost of remittances to at most 3%. And so blockchain has a very big impact on being able to use digital technologies to help reduce and move money cross-border. And there's a lot of key things that are happening here, and it's definitely a space to watch. Now events, which you've been waiting for. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how Events is having a really big sort of set of innovations due to blockchain. And so there's actually been $22 million lost to ticket fraud in the past 3 years. And that was from a specific event actually, and 12% of online ticket purchasers are scammed. And so you can see that this is a big problem. Secondary ticketing market is worth $15 billion, and the primary ticketing market is actually worth $50 billion in normal years. Of course, during the pandemic, these numbers, have become abnormal with the lack of in-person events. The average resale ticket to a concert is 49% greater than face value, and profits can exceed 1,000%. I'm sure there's been an event that you've wanted to attend and, it's been sold out very quickly, oftentimes by bots or other things. And the idea is to eliminate scalpers and actually, ensure that there's a way to, buy and resell tickets in a more safe and organized way. Where they can also benefit from as the organizers. So here's actually some really great examples. So the tickets for UEFA Euro Championship, I have personally been to the finals of one of the Euro Championships, and I can tell you it was a great experience, but I also saw a lot of tickets being sold on reseller markets. I did hear of people getting scammed at this. And so UEFA is actually using a blockchain-powered mobile app as part of this, and they're hoping to deliver 1 million tickets through the Euro 2020 app on blockchain. And so this is actually quite exciting. They're ruling out the entire possibility of replicating tickets, which is a big problem. I know that that's also been a worry for me in the past purchasing tickets. You also see things like easing of distribution across a number of countries. It's always difficult with these international or quite global events. And so that's a very big benefit. And you look at the Best Life Music Festival, they're also looking at the applications of blockchain as well. And Ticketmaster is definitely a big one. They actually also acquired a company called Upgraded. I do know one of the founders quite well. And, Ticketmaster's goal is to support 400 to 500 million tickets sold using blockchain and smart contracts. And they see a tremendous benefit in this for, that secondary market and accessing that, but also to improve that fan experience and fan protections. And so this is a very big deal. And, we could very much see events and ticketing really having a future of better protections and better safety in this way. And so that has it. Now you've got a pretty good understanding of what's actually happening with blockchain across all of these different sectors, especially when you look at the event space. There's some really big things planned. There's acquisitions happening. There's hundreds of millions of tickets that will likely be on blockchain by some of the biggest companies in the events and ticketing space globally. So thank you so much for taking the time. Do feel free to scan my QR code, send me a note or an email. If you have WeChat, you can add me there. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you, and have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the events. There is an incredible lineup, and be sure to tune in to the other incredible speakers.
Are you excited about the possible blockchain applications? Thank you very much, Ali, for his insights and sharing. If you are, and you want to find out more, please feel free to post your questions via the Pigeonhole link to Ali, where he can answer to your questions. I shall leave this QR code on the screen for another 30 seconds for you to access the Pigeonhole Live link. Easily, if you have your mobile phone with you, you can scan the QR code now. All right, this pretty much sums up the program we have here at the Spotlight stage. It is time for us to shift our attention to the main stage, where the stream is entirely different from the spotlight stage. A special shout out for our platinum sponsor, Spring Forest Studio, for offering their green screen studio services to host an elevated main stage experience for all of our ETS attendees. Very exciting topics on creatives, evolution during this pandemic period, drone tech, online engagement, virtual event solution, and much more topics will be discussed on the main stage of the ETS 2020. Once again, my name is Jack, and special thank you to my host Dolce, who has been helping me behind the scene, making this stream on the spotlight stage a very smooth one indeed. A sincere thank you to all of you, our dear audience, for tuning in, showing support, and keeping this stage interactive and engaging. Jack and Dolce here, signing off. Thank you.